Someone was banging on the front door. Not knocking. Banging. And Mara Smith knew instantly it wasn't a guest. The sound echoed through the marble halls of the cliffside estate while Mara Smith stood in front of the mirror wearing half of a wedding dress and a look that said she had slept maybe 2 hours the entire night. "Mara!" Mina's voice came from the hallway. "Did you hear that?" Another bang shook the door. The sound was so desperate it made Mara's stomach twist. Guests weren't supposed to arrive for another hour. The ocean wind howled outside the tall glass windows, and the morning sky was a dull gray. Something about the sound felt wrong, frantic, almost panicked. "I'll get it," Mara called, forcing her voice to sound steady. Her heels clicked across the polished floor as she walked toward the entrance. The entire house smelled faintly of roses and sea salt. Today was supposed to be perfect. The cameras were coming, the fashion magazines were coming. Baek Sunjo was downstairs with his groomsmen getting ready. Everything had been choreographed. Another bang slammed against the door. "All right," Mara shouted, annoyed now. "I'm coming." She unlocked the handle and pulled the heavy door open, and froze. Standing on the stone steps was a woman with dripping black hair and pale lips. Water ran down her dress, down her hands, down her bare feet. Her eyes lifted slowly. The woman had Mara's face, Clara Smith, her identical twin, the sister who drowned 2 years ago. Mara's throat closed instantly. For a moment, she forgot how to breathe. Clara tilted her head slightly, water dripping from her chin. Her voice came out hoarse and cold. Why did you steal my life, Mara?" Mara stumbled backward. No, you're not real." Clara stepped forward slowly, the wet fabric of her white dress clinging to her skin. "You took my work," she said softly. Another step. "You took my man." Another step. "And now you're wearing my future." Mara's heart slammed violently against her ribs. "I watched them bury you," she whispered. "I saw your body." Clara's expression didn't change. "But you never saw the truth." The hallway lights flickered. Mara blinked. Clara was gone. The front steps were empty. But the marble floor inside the house was now covered in seawater footprints. For several seconds, Mara simply stared. Then her legs gave out and she grabbed the wall. "Mara?" Mina rushed down the hallway, heels clicking quickly. "What happened? Yet you look like you've seen—" She stopped when she noticed the water on the floor. "What the hell?" Mara pointed toward the door with trembling fingers. "She was here." "Who?" "Clara." Mina's expression tightened immediately. "Mara," she said carefully, "that's not funny. I'm not joking." Mara's voice cracked. "She was standing right there. She said I stole her life." Mina looked down at the water again. Her brow furrowed slightly. Then she shook her head and forced a reassuring smile. "You're exhausted," she said calmly. "You haven't slept. Today is stressful. Your brain is playing tricks on you." Mara stared at her. "Tricks don't leave water on the floor." Mina grabbed a nearby towel and started wiping the marble. "Flower buckets spilled earlier," she said quickly. "The staff probably tracked it in." Mara didn't answer. Something about the way Mina said that felt rehearsed. A male voice called from the staircase. "Mara?" Baek Sunjo stepped into the hallway, adjusting his cufflinks. Even in the dim light, he looked effortlessly composed, tall, sharp-jawed, calm. Mina said something happened. Mara turned toward him slowly. For a moment, she just stared at his face. "Sunjo," she said quietly, "if I ask you something, will you tell me the truth?" His eyes narrowed slightly. That depends on the question. Did you ever love Clara? Silence filled the hallway. Sunjo looked away. That tiny movement said everything. Mara laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. I knew it. Mara. When? Sunjo exhaled slowly. Before you. Her chest tightened. How long before me? He hesitated. A few months. The words landed like stones. And you thought marrying me without telling me that was a good idea? Mara, it ended. When? His silence returned. Her eyes widened. When she died? She whispered. Mara, listen. No, she said sharply. You listen. Her voice trembled now. I just opened the door and saw my dead sister standing on the steps accusing me of stealing her life. Sunjo's expression changed instantly. You saw Clara? Yes. The color drained slightly from his face. What did she say? Mara stared at him. You believe me? Before he could answer, something moved in the mirror behind him. Mara's eyes snapped toward it. Clara was standing there again, right behind Sunjo. Her soaked hair hung across her face and her eyes were fixed directly on Mara. Sunjo noticed Mara's expression change. What is it? Mara whispered, barely breathing. Turn around. He slowly turned. The mirror shattered violently. Sunjo staggered backward with blood running down his hand. What the hell? Did you see her? Mara demanded. Sunjo didn't answer. He just stared at the broken glass with fear creeping into his expression. That was all Mara needed. Clara wasn't just in her head. People were beginning to arrive outside. Cars rolled up the long driveway. Voices filled the air. The wedding planner rushed in carrying a clipboard. But inside the house, something had already gone terribly wrong. Mina pulled Mara aside near the staircase. You need to calm down, she whispered urgently. You knew, Mara said. Mina blinked. Knew what? That Sunjo and Clara were involved. Mina's silence lasted half a second too long. Mina, it was complicated. Mara let out a hollow laugh. Of course it was. Her hands shook as memories began surfacing. Rain, a cliff road, Clara screaming. You always take what's mine, Mara. Wind whipping through their hair. You took my contacts, my auditions. I didn't steal anything. You took Sunjo. Clara stepping closer to the edge. You don't even know who you are without me. Mara grabbed her arm. Stop! Clara pulled away violently. Her heel slipped. The memory cut off there. Mara squeezed her eyes shut. What happened next? She whispered. Mina watched her carefully. You told the police she fell. Mara opened her eyes. And you believed that? Before Mina could answer, a voice spoke behind them. Of course she didn't. Both women turned slowly. Clara stood at the top of the staircase, wet, silent, watching, and guests downstairs began whispering as some of them noticed her. A woman screamed. Clara's gaze locked onto Mara again. Tell them, she said softly. Mara felt her heart racing uncontrollably. Tell them how long you watched. The room seemed to tilt. I didn't push you, Mara whispered. I know. Then what do you want? Clara stepped down the stairs slowly. Water dripped onto every step. I want the truth. Sunjo walked toward them cautiously. Mara, this isn't real. Clara's eyes shifted toward him. Then why are you shaking? Sunjo froze. Clara smiled faintly. Should I tell them your secret too, Sunjo? The entire room fell silent. Mara looked between them. What secret? Sunjo swallowed. Clara spoke first. He was there that night. The words echoed through the house. Mara's head snapped toward him. Oh, you came to the cliff? Sunjo couldn't meet her eyes. Clara continued. He met me before you arrived. He tried to convince me not to expose everything. Mara's stomach dropped. What were you exposing? Clara looked directly at her. That he chose you because you were easier. Sunjo whispered desperately. Clara, stop. You told everyone I was unstable, Clara said. You told them my anger made me dangerous. Her eyes burned. But the truth? She pointed at him. You were afraid I'd reveal you were sleeping with both of us. Gasps spread through the room. Mara's world tilted. You told me she was obsessed with you, she whispered. Sunjo looked broken now. I thought protecting you meant burying it. Protecting me? Clara laughed coldly. You protected yourself. Mara stepped forward slowly. So when she fell, you knew the truth too. Sunjo's voice shook. I didn't push her. I didn't ask if you pushed her, Mara said quietly. I asked if you knew. He closed his eyes. Yes. The confession hit harder than any ghost. Clara turned back toward Mara. Now your turn. Mara felt every eye in the room on her. Her chest tightened. I didn't push you, she repeated. Clara nodded. But you hesitated. Silence swallowed the room. Mara's voice broke. I hated you in that moment. Clara said nothing. I hated how you always made me feel second. Mara wiped tears from her face. And when you slipped, I waited. A sob escaped someone in the crowd. Mara looked down at her shaking hands. I waited long enough for the fall to become real. Clara studied her quietly. Then she stepped closer and placed a cold hand against Mara's cheek. You finally told the truth. Mara whispered through tears. Is that enough? Clara's voice softened. It's a start. The storm outside began to calm. Guests slowly backed away from the chaos of the altar. Sunjo sank into a chair, pale and silent. Mina leaned against a wall, realizing the life she built around Mara had just collapsed. Clara's form began fading slightly. Mara looked at her desperately. Wait. Clara smiled faintly. You don't need me haunting you anymore. Then she vanished. The room was quiet except for the distant sound of the ocean. The wedding never happened. Sunjo disappeared from public life within weeks. Mina lost every client she had once controlled. And Mara Smith returned the fashion campaign that launched her career. Months later, she stood alone on the same cliff where Clara died. Wind moved gently across the water. For the first time in 2 years, Mara felt something she hadn't allowed herself before. Peace. But one question stayed with her. If the truth destroys the life you built, was that life ever really yours? If this story kept you watching until the end, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments what you think really happened that night on the cliff.